The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, Monday Night Raw, Review.
Welcome, everybody, to Wrestling to the Max's Raw Review. Now, this is the October 24th, 2016 edition, and we are excited about tonight. We've got a lot of stuff in store because, we got that big Brock Lesnar segment to get into, plus a lot of other interesting stuff on this Raw. We are all leading up to Hell in a Cell this Sunday, so you got a lot in store. Plus, don't forget, we are a part of the W2M Network. If you do not know about the W2M Network, just go to any podcasting thing that you use. I don't care if it's Podcast Addict, iTunes, whatever you use, W2M Network is the place to go. Go subscribe, and then you'll have all our podcasts, all the shows that we do. Plus, don't forget to go check out W2Mnet.com. That's, of course, where you'll find not only our podcast, but a lot of written reviews and a lot of other great content for your reading pleasure. But now it's time to talk Monday Night Raw, guys.
All right. And supposedly we're going to start having like a takeaways of Raw and SmackDown articles hopefully this week. We'll see how those go. It's two people that have written for the site already, but things happen. So starting with Raw, it was supposed to apparently start with what turned out to be some wonderful lackluster match between Carl Anderson and Enzo. It started with Chris Jericho coming out to look for his list because he couldn't find it. It had disappeared on him. And so he's going around wondering, saying he's not going to even be in a triple threat match if he doesn't find his list. So then comes Kevin Owens, and he basically tells you how it is about the stupid list. He does not care about it at all. This caused Jericho and Owens to get mad about it. Stephanie comes out saying that, hey, look, that Seth Rollins getting your head again, and that you do have to compete in this match. Now, she doesn't make him compete into the match until later when he's going crazy looking for the list some more, and she tells him he's going to get suspended if he doesn't find the list. And then if Rollins comes out, he has the list behind him, and then actually reads stuff off the list, which includes Stephanie and him saying that Kevin Owens is his former friend. Pretty damn good. I enjoyed the match. I think they gave you... you knew kind of it wasn't going to go very long. And I think that the finish was supposed to come off better than it did, but it makes Rollins look good going into Hell in a Cell, so that's a positive.
I think it makes everybody pretty much look good, if you ask me. I think Seth Rollins did a great job in this. That the match was very well done. Jericho's kind of there really for entertainment reasons, plus to kind of keep this whole thing in perspective with him being, Kevin Owens' best friend. So I think, when you also talk about Kevin Owens, he presented well. I think all three guys did a good job. You get a lot of the jokes and stuff with the list, with Jericho, which adds a lot more entertainment to this thing. It gives it some, validity when it comes to being a full, well-rounded picture. Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins really kind of concluded this thing and really got you ready to see a big brawl in that Hell in a Cell. I think they did a good job overall. And, once again, one of my favorite things, though, has to be Chris Jericho talking to Jinder Mahal about that list. That was pretty funny.
Yes, he was telling him to calm down, and every time he would do it, he's like, stupid idiot. I loved it. And then we also got to find out there's apparently brochures for going to Puerto Rico now. So Yeah.
Paul, we gotta go get some of those, Paul. Those brochures, man.
Yeah, we gotta go find those. Figure out how much that timeshare is, and we do that. We live the hashtag, guys.
Yes.
Finally, live the hashtag.
Or Titus O'Neil will show up too, so you can be relevant.
That's fair. That's all right. You know, I mean, he wins all those dad awards. He's probably a nice guy.
Yeah. I'm sure he'd like to take the kids out there.
The only thing that I kind of have a problem with in all this is that the list was supposed to be sort of a side thing, and now it's become the reason for the Owens and Jericho feud. I don't know how much I feel like that's a great reason for these guys to turn on each other.
So what's better?
That's a great question.
What's better, a feud over a plant or a feud over a list?
I mean, Mitch was a dear, trusted friend, you know.
Oh, but that list, I mean, it keeps people wanting and knowing, and, you know, I think, heck, I even think
And
Vince
the crowd
hopes
loves the hell out of it, too.
Oh, they do.
The crowd loved Mitch. I loved Mitch.
I think it's more about you loving Mitch than the crowd loving Mitch.
It might maybe.
Yeah. I mean, you love Mitch. I hope my kiss is on that list, you know, that Jericho has. So it's, you know, we all have our likes.
I'm always for a Hall & Oates reference.
I'm sure Mitch is on the list anyways, guys.
He probably is.
Sure, he got plenty of kisses from Dean Ambrose for it too.
Oh, I'll bet. So, yeah.
Maybe from Renee Young as well. So after this, we do get to the actual match that was supposed to start the show, in quotations. I could have gone without them doing this at all. But what in the hell is the point of Anderson and Gallows being in this company if they're just going to job all the time? I mean, are we going to get to the point where we're just going to separate Gallows and Anderson, and then Anderson could just be more of a jobber? Like, why are you paying them money when AJ has proven that these guys are something? Nakamura's out there proving it. Apparently you like Gallows. I mean, I don't understand what the deal is. Like, just let Anderson... I mean, I guess Anderson's the new Cesaro. He's just going to job until somebody figures out that he can do something, and then they push him. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they seem content to make money off AJ Styles running New Japan. They seem content to make a lot of money off the different people's running New Japan. I think it's just because they have so many tag teams in the division that they want to put over because they're theirs. The New Day, Enzo and Big Cass, Cesaro and Sheamus to a small degree, I think even. And I don't want to say they just took a big tag team away from New Japan just to do it, but I mean, it's not out of character for the WWE to do this. Even then, these two guys definitely deserve better, and it's going to get to the point where it's too little, too late with these guys because they are. You're right; they've already shown plenty of times on screen that these guys can't win.
I mean, I wonder if there was a big plan for them to, whether it's against or eventually with Finn, and because that didn't happen, they just do not have a direction for them. But I mean, there was that stuff there at one point with them, and then all of a sudden he gets hurt, and now they have no direction.
I don't know if there was ever that plan there. I think they were pretty intent on pushing Finn as a babyface for as long as they could.
Yeah, you know, it almost makes me wonder if Paul's thought process on these guys just being taken from New Japan just to take them from New Japan, nothing else. That's maybe the biggest plan. I don't know. I think that they had another plan in store too, even if it was kind of the subpar part of that plan. But I'd look at it and say, you know, I can only hope and dream that they're putting these guys through this whole terrible moment in their career with WWE just so that maybe later on can build them up and do something with them eventually. But I don't know. To me, it's almost like they would have to go to SmackDown to make that rise, because right now on Raw it's just nothing. There's nothing that they're doing good really right now, and it's not their fault.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. You want to push Enzo and Cass or whatever. Obviously, they deserve that too. Just, good lord. I mean, you're going to have them, unless, well, this would be so WWE. Oh, let's have them lose in singles matches only for them to win the tag match. But, I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath.
I mean, I could honestly see that. But I could see it happening. I mean, I really could.
You cut out there.
I was just saying I could really see it happening.
Yeah, it's, again, not totally out of the question, but just, it'd be total, hey, 50-50 booking, guys. I thought.
Vintage WWE.
Yeah. Just, let's keep doing it. And to go along with, this must have been the theme on this show. Of, hey, we had Rollins pin both guys in the main event, even though he's wrestling one of them on Sunday. Well, the New Day have their non-title match against Cesaro and Sheamus. And this is the premium tag team. I don't want to put Primo in this conversation. He's terrible. Kofi and Big E against Cesaro and Sheamus. This goes about 12 minutes. This is the best match on the show by far. This was really good. I love the dive off there, and Cesaro just clocks Kofi with the uppercut on the outside. That was good.
That's what maybe they're hoping to get over, and that's fine. But at the same time, I watched this match and I think to myself, really at the end of the day, what's going to happen with these two, tag teams? And I don't know. Sometimes I don't understand everything that they're doing here.
I'm curious if anybody even cares. I think they've cooled off the New Day to such a degree after that last feud with Gallus and Anderson, and now you've sort of haphazardly thrown Cesaro and Sheamus together and tossed them into the mix. And the crowd obviously is into them doing their little thing at the start where, Sheamus wants all the cheers, he gets booed, and then Cesaro gets cheered afterwards. And, this match, it sounds good. I'm interested in seeing it, but I don't know. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to make Cesaro and Sheamus look like they have a chance. They've been on a roll. They look unstoppable, and then suddenly New Day beats them. I get it. It's classic WWE booking for tag teams, but I don't know if it's working.
The best thing is Cesaro on house shows takes a cardboard cutout of Sheamus with him. That's his tag partner.
That's awesome. The one thing I'll say is I do like the idea of like the New Day putting down Sheamus and not really Cesaro. And then, maybe in the future, Cesaro starts to stick up for his tag team partner. Even though he hates him, he kind of comes around to maybe taking up for him, and it being a way for them to grow together by other people kind of knocking the other guy. I don't know. I just kind of thought about that as that took place when New Day was putting down Sheamus. I thought, I could totally see this being the way they can kind of maybe get these guys to finally gel and take up for each other.
Yeah, that's fine.
I would be okay with it. They haven't really mentioned a lot of the Survivor Series stuff on Raw yet, have they?
No, I think they're trying to get through Hell in a Cell first.
Yeah. And that makes sense. I was just curious, just because SmackDown they're gearing up for all the Survivor Series stuff over there. And if the rumored stipulation is a thing where the winning brand gets the 3 picks from the other opposing brand, then could certainly make things interesting.
Yeah, if they do that, that'd be great. Hopefully you send Gallus and Anderson over there, or Cesaro, or somebody. But I think part of it is they also don't want, because you're gonna have to, in order for this to work, you're gonna have a lot of teams with, hey, we don't like each other, but we're gonna be in the Survivor Series team together. It's gonna work that way. I think we all know it's gonna work that way. Just because it's the only way they're gonna get all the stars on the teams. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they want to just be doing that when you still got these matches with these wrestlers happening. So they got to get past it first to finally get there. But yeah, so moving on from the tag team scene, the women were on this show as well, and they got a rather important segment here. A segment in which was basically the contract. Well, you had two women's segments here. You had the arm wrestling match between Dana and Bayley, where I felt like we just took women's wrestling back like 10 years. Not only because of the arm wrestling crap, which the crowd was totally not having it from the beginning, chanting, "This is stupid and boring," and Dana doing the look. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the whole. I guess it's like you got to separate the character from the thing, but like I just saw this started happening on social media, and this is really happening on social media. The stuff with Carmella calling Nikki a slut, basically, and all that, whatever, that started to become a thing where like the internet has picked up on it, and they're starting to, call Nikki some bad names and stuff based on the storyline. So you have this is the problem. You have to be careful with how you present these kind of things. Of society is so different now than it was back then. Social media will pick up on anything and make something way worse than it really needs to be. But this is another one of those cases where maybe it won't go to that degree, but I'm not a huge fan of the whole "I'm prettier than you," whatever, so that means I'm better kind of thing. Like, it's also very stupid. It's like, it doesn't really, to me, it's not a way for me to either care. It's cheap heat for Dana, which I think doesn't really do a whole lot for her, and it doesn't really do much for like making me feel total sympathy for Bayley either, because it's like, that's not really why you're into Bayley, is because she's not like, you're into Bayley because she's the underdog or whatever. It's not because, I think we all kind of know she's not, the first person you think of on the hotness scale when it comes to the women. That's not the reason why you're caring about Bayley, I don't know. I probably talked way too much about this segment that was dumb, but yeah.
I get where you're coming from on this, and I thought it was just a waste of time. I don't understand why they're doing it either. I mean, if you're going to go by, logistics or maybe go by reality, you all know that, Dana Brooke was a part of the strong woman competition, and she's done all those kind of things. So this is kind of in her wheelhouse to do, acts of strength, and that makes sense. But it also makes sense on the heel part where, basically her taking a cheap shot at Bayley. So all that works. But once again, even though that's all great and dandy, it just is not coming off very well. I'll say it that way. It sounds better in your head than it does actually being on paper or actually being portrayed on TV. I think that's the way this all worked out. And, sad because, once again, like Sean said, it is kind of make you think, man, this is just not the way they need to be presenting the women. They're trying to actually, do some good things like, hey, Hell in a Cell, they're breaking glass ceilings, with the women. Now you're kind of going down a couple rungs on the ladder with this.
Between this and the Emma makeover with her having, the whole point is her having shots in a bikini, like,
mm-hmm.
I don't understand what we're doing here, WWE.
For me, this reads like a step back, as you guys were sort of hinting at. It feels very Divas division. It doesn't feel very women's division. That being said, I understand where they're coming from, and the arm wrestling thing fits into Dana's wheelhouse. She's a power lifter. She does all these things for strong woman competitions and all that stuff. But I would like a time, or anybody to try to name me a time, when an arm wrestling stip across anything actually worked in wrestling. Hint, there's not one.
Nope. And at least when Scott Steiner and Triple H did it, Triple H actually, stood a chance to maybe beat Scott Steiner. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we get to the two stupid things. It was just so funny. Like, they had the women, like, because they actually did the Hell in a Cell contract signing, and then right after is when they did the Emma with the bikini thing. And it was just so funny. It's like, okay, so we do all this stuff about how great it is for the women to do this match or whatever, and then it's like, oh wait, we're still doing this. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you WWE for contradicting yourself. But
Yeah, well, the one question I want to ask you is we didn't really get into this whole contract signing, and it's not a big deal. We don't really need
well,
it.
that's why I was about to get there.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I was just like, we were already talking about the bad stuff, so get the bad stuff. And I mean, I don't know. Some people were. This was so weird because depending on who you were, what chat room you were in, what version of Twitter you're sitting there looking at, people either really didn't like this, or they really liked it, or they only liked the Sasha and Charlotte part and thought that Mick got too involved, or they really liked the Mick Foley part and hated the women part. So this was so weird and so across the board. But basically, Mick Foley is here doing this contract signing for the Hell in a Cell match of the women with Sasha and Charlotte. And Sasha and Charlotte, do their cutting promos on each other, and then Mick kind of tells them, hey, before I put this contract down, I'm letting you know what you're getting into. And then, Sasha brings up the whole, I watched all the matches on the network, and he's like, it doesn't matter how many matches you watch, you're not going to be mentally prepared for what this is. And then Charlotte kind of kept going on at Sasha. Charlotte even got on Sasha about the whole her being injured as many times as she has been, that's where the crowd turned on this and started chanting boring. And I really felt like, and they were doing this quite often. This wasn't the only segment where they did this, and the arm wrestling match. I just felt like they were just being obnoxious. It's like, if we don't have Brock out here, we don't care. And I get it, you're in Minnesota, whatever. Stop being obnoxious, let them actually say what they're gonna say. It just bugged me, but crowds are gonna be crowds, I guess, at this point. But where do you fall in that line? Because I thought Foley didn't save the segment, but I didn't think he hurt the segment either. I felt like his role was well put. Like, he's obviously trying to get people to understand that this is a big deal and that you can get hurt and this changes your life and whatever. But I felt like at times there was also too much of, I'm yelling and I don't know what I'm yelling about.
That's my biggest problem with it overall with Mick Foley, and I appreciate Mick Foley. I like what he explained about how he can't walk right, his injuries because of Hell in a Cell, and how it's changed his life, and how these two young ladies need to understand that, and they need to look in his eyes and get that this is going to change your life. You can't go into this just thinking, oh, I've seen this on TV, I can do that. He's trying to really get that in their head, and I appreciate that part. But once again, Mick Foley sometimes goes a little bit more into the realm of, I'm taking a long time to get to my point, or I'm doing this and it's just kind of repetitive. So I can get where people are coming from. I really didn't hate or love either one, either the women or, of course, Mick Foley. I think Sasha and Charlotte did fine. I think Mick Foley did an okay job. At the end of the day, though, I would say I'd appreciate Mick Foley going about what he was doing a different way, maybe saying a few things shorter, and I think it'd work better.
Yeah, the thing too is, they made this such a not a big deal as far as the danger part. They made it a big deal about, oh, this is such a great moment for the women and all this stuff, and then you keep building it up that way, and then all of a sudden, right before the contract signing hits, I guess Mick Foley had an epiphany, and now he's telling them about what they're about to face and all this stuff, and it's like, why didn't you do this before this week? Like,
Mhm.
why are we waiting until now?
Yeah, I think you're both hitting on the greatest failure of this part of Sasha and Charlotte's feud on the main roster is that since Sasha won the championship on Raw for the second time, the feud hasn't been about how much they hate each other or how much they continually try to prove who's the best out of each other, and it suddenly has to be decided in Hell in a Cell because that's the match that that does that. It's become about history. It's become about trying to put the idea of a women's revolution forward instead of letting the feuds and the storytelling tell you that there's a revolution happening. There's no heat anymore. It's all WWE has failed so far as to really make you care because they're pushing history. They're not pushing the feud. And it feels like this was too little too late. I mean, I appreciate them trying to sell the match on the history basis because it is a big deal in that fashion. But it certainly shouldn't be your chief focus of this thing. The focus should be that they've gone so far that they can in the basic matches and all the everything else that they've done up to this point, that there's only one way to really solve and one way to prove who's the best right now. And this is it. And it's Mick doing this earlier, saying how dangerous this is, being nervous about making this match, not wanting to put them in this sort of situation because he has experience, would have been a much more powerful, would have been a much better storytelling tool than anything it sounds like what they did on this episode of Raw. Or anything they've done in the past since Sasha won the belt.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right about that. They've made this about everything but them. And Charlotte tried to bring it back to that. But I felt like, again, it went the wrong way. Like, oh, we're going to make fun of Sasha because she's been injured a lot. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, we're going to do that. And it's like, okay. I mean, I like the first part of her promo. That first part where she gets really intense and she woos in Sasha's face and whatever. And then it kind of, after that, it kind of went off the rails. And it's still like, God, sometimes I really feel like Charlotte just memorizes her lines to the point where there's times where she's really good and there's times where she's really like a robot. And sometimes it just takes me out of it. And I don't know. When her dad would go up there, he was so carefree and like just, you didn't feel this like stoic laser. He was laser focused, but you felt like it was coming out there very emotionally driven, and he knew what he wanted to say. Charlotte feels like it's, I got my head straight forward, but I'm reciting these lines that I've practiced all week, and I'm trying to say it in a very serious manner, and I don't know. It just doesn't feel natural. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you guys get that sometimes. Like, she's really good at what she does. Just, it doesn't ever feel natural to me.
Yeah, I mean, it may not be natural, but I still feel like she does one of the best jobs at times because I feel like her emotion does come out. Now, it may not be as natural or as free-flowing as you want it. She's not going to be her dad, most likely. She could be close, but I don't think she's going to be her dad. But at the same time, I still like her better than I do some of the other ones. I think Sasha sometimes still sounds like she's trying to figure it out. Like she's not sure, or she sounds like a kid at times. I don't mean to be like that, but sometimes I kind of feel like she's...
Yeah, I mean, as far as everybody else, there's no woman on the roster right now that touches Charlotte as far as promos go, but I don't know. It's just that I wish there wasn't this robotic tone sometimes to the way she says things.
And I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Because when she's trying to be super serious, it borders that line of, you're starting to get me off the track now, and now you got to try to pull me back in, and it gets hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem you're expressing is rather common. I think across the entire roster, on both shows, there are a lot of, like, unless you're one of the top guys who is given a lot of mic time or has had the opportunity to have a lot of mic time in their time before WWE, I don't feel like they get it, you know? Like they're so used to having everything written out for them, and they're so used to all these other things. And Charlotte is very much a product of WWE entirely. And to a degree, I think Sasha and a lot of the women's division is. There's so much that when you don't have a lot of time to do mic work, that I don't think comes across well, especially whenever you're used to just reading everything off a sheet. And I don't think a lot of, I'm not going to say Charlotte's a great promo. She's a fine promo. I think a lot of the women in the division are a fine promo. There's never been that one promo in any facet of WWE since the Women's Revolution has started that has really made me go, wow, that was great. You know, there's been good ones. There's never been anything blow me away, though.
But I feel like Becky sometimes feels more natural than Charlotte does.
Well, Becky had all that time on the indie scene.
Right. But
Becky's had opportunities to be that promo before. I don't think Charlotte's ever had that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, like I just said, you know, Charlotte is probably the best one as far as understanding who she is. She gets it, she says it, just it's the way she says it. And sometimes it knocks me out of the, you know, things because, you know, it's that line. And then, like what Gary said is totally spot on about Sasha. She gets her character. She knows she has to put in the thing about the boss and whatever. And then I thought she did a better job here than she has previously. But yeah, she still has times where it's like, oh, wow, okay, I just totally forgot what I was going to say, and now I have to just start spewing stuff because I'm out here on a live microphone, and I can't just not talk, you know. But I mean, just I think making a distinction from these people obviously learn, like, I mean, as bad as everybody talked about AJ, he's gotten better since he's been in WWE system.
Absolutely.
You know, he looks so just, even doing the comedy stuff, he's so good at it, and it seems so AJ. And I mean, as much as we maybe dislike it or whatever because it makes him look dumb, it fits. He doesn't look out of place doing it, and he's so like natural. It feels like, oh, he would say this, so you don't question what's being said. Of course, that probably helps that he has Ambrose there that may cut the slack to say, hey, you don't have to say this. Just say whatever, you know. And so it feels more like a segment that's actually happening. So for me, it just, and even to go back to this Raw, I thought he didn't maybe say a whole lot as far as, oh my God, groundbreaking stuff. But I thought Curtis Axel looked really good in that promo. Of course, it helps that the crowd was totally with him because it's in Minnesota. But I thought he handled himself really well. The crowd responded to him. I don't know if the crowd will ever respond to him like that again. But just, I felt like, you know, Curtis Axel always gets the short end of the stick because, you know, he's been boring previously or whatever. But, man, a fired up Axel like that.
Yeah, it definitely is great. And I love the fact that he was able to talk about his roots and his dad and his grandfather. You know, they really try to shy him away from that as much as possible. And I understand because, you know, they want to be able to squash him and not feel bad about it. You know, be able to do what they want to do with him, meld him the way they want to meld him, and it makes sense. But at the same time, I love that he was able to talk about them. He was able to get fired up. And, you know, he actually got a chance to have some offense, too. So that's something kind of nice to see. Finally, we're getting back to him actually doing something. Is that going to spell anything for the future? I don't know. But it's just nice to see, at least for one episode.
You know, I like Curtis Axel. And, you know, we all fell in love with that Axelmania thing he had going a couple of years ago. And he's had moments where he certainly looked silly out there. You know, when we go back and look at NXT and the McGillivray debacle, because that was awful. Or when they tried, you know, the second the second NXT invasion, and that failed on the back of his promos too. But I think Curtis has really grown in his time on the main roster. I wouldn't be against them giving him another shot, and certainly, is he his dad? I don't think so. He's a fine wrestler. I think he's okay promo, but he's nothing super special. But that doesn't mean you can't do something with him and make him into something.
Right. I mean, at worst,
you're right.
you can be Jack Swagger when he was getting momentum. I mean, which still isn't bad. So
Yeah, I thought Swagger was a better wrestler than Axel is.
Oh well, yeah, certainly that helps you. But I think, as far as like getting over character wise, which obviously for that to happen, you have to have more mic time than he got here. But you know, he was sort of an afterthought in the Heyman thing. He was, one of several guys in the Nexus and in the NXT invasion and all that other stuff. And the only time I think he really has shined is when they had the why can't I think of the Social Outcast, where he got to be funny. And I think he got more comfortable as time went on the just speaking, and it kind of comes out that way, because sometimes he would come up with some of the funniest things that they'd had them all say. I'm just like, damn, that was stupid, but I'm laughing, like, whatever. So probably has to do with his voice. Like, I don't think about that with like his voice saying something dumb like that. I'm like, all right, that works. Speaking of something dumb, we have the Golden Truth with Mark Henry, because he has nothing else to do, against the Shining Stars and Titus O'Neil. As they try to explain to you that Titus O'Neil now has this gimmick. As part of his gimmick is the scarf, and that Jericho has now renamed the gimmick. So it is what it is. This was about 4 minutes, and it was what you would expect. Whole lot of
yeah, this is like NyQuil. Just put you to sleep. So yeah, what do you say about this? It doesn't mean anything.
Certainly.
They're trying to build a tag team division. They can't do it. They can't do it over here on Raw, and I don't know why. They have a couple teams there, and everything else. I mean, maybe SmackDown technically has the same problem too. I mean, outside your top 2 or 3 teams, there's a whole lot of nothing. And I mean, this is an attempt, but there's nothing happening here.
No, there is not. Sort of like the same thing again with the cruiserweights here. Even though this match was actually, I thought, good, the crowd got into it because they really let Swan have a lot, and then he wound up winning. This is the theme of this whole night. Whoever's going to the pay-per-view, lose. That's okay. Just look bad before you have your match at the pay-per-view. That's totally okay. Now, they do try to save this with the story of in the backstage area where Brian Kendrick begs TJ Perkins to let him win. I don't know if we've had this in wrestling, where we just, let's have a backstage film where we talk to the guy about, hey, just let me win. Yeah, this is just really weird considering what the CWC was all about and everything. I feel like I gotta say this every week. Please, for God's sakes, does TJ Perkins' vocabulary have to revolve around video games? Like, hey, he comes out to Mega Man version 5.8 or whatever. He has video game stuff in his Titantron. We get it. You don't have to use video. That's not gonna make him cool. I'm sorry. Like, even as all of us, I mean, I play more games than you guys do, but as a video game person, that doesn't make me think that you are cool, because as somebody made a joke on Twitter, like, the next thing he's going to say is, like, hey, the best way to get better is to blow on that cartridge. I mean, like, seriously. what is left for him to say? This is terrible. Like, part of this promo was okay. He just kept saying that he was upset that he doesn't know who Brian Kendrick is anymore. And then it's like, we got to come up with the video game references again. It's like, why? Why?
Yeah. You know, I feel bad for TJ Perkins in the fact that I don't know if, you know, Paul alluded to this when it comes to, you know, a lot of the women and their ability to be on the mic and use it to its proper use. You know, he's been on the indie circuit for a long time, but it's obvious this guy is not well versed on the mic, or he's just not good at it. Maybe he is well versed. I don't know. Paul would have to answer that more. But I look at this guy and say, look, once again, like Roman Reigns, you don't have to hand him the mic so much. He can get over with everyone just by being TJ Perkins. They'll watch him do the flips. They'll watch him and love him because he is that video game that they love to, you know, see. But they don't have to hear him talk about it. And then that's just that. So, you know, maybe he'll get better. I don't know. He's just now got here. I hated the Brian Kendrick thing. That bugged the crap out of me. Not him losing the match. That's fine. It's about the fact that him saying, oh, you know, let me win. I get where they're trying to go with it, but it's terrible. Terrible for Brian Kendrick. It's terrible for just the thought process in this whole thing because, what, he's supposed to guilt this kid into letting him have the belt just because he's old and this is his last shot? I'm getting kind of tired of the whole, this is his last shot. Because if it is really, truly his last shot, and the CWC when he lost in whatever round it was, that was his last shot. Now this is his last shot. In 3 months, is it going to be, oh, this is my last shot? Stop using that so much. It's overused. Just let this guy go in and be a good heel. He was doing a great job of being a heel. This just took all the heat off him, if you ask me.
TJ Perkins has never been tremendous on the mic. You know, he's worked under a mask as Puma before. He's obviously been Suicide and a bunch of other character, Manic, over on TNA. Even in Evolve, he never really got on the mic much because, you know, he had a manager. He had Stokely Hathaway as his manager near the end of his run, and then he was part of Catch Point, and Drew Gulak does a lot of the talking to Catch Point. So, yeah, he's never been that promo guy before. And certainly, WWE, I think, swings such a heavy-handed, double-edged sword with the way they present these guys now. It's not about competition and putting on great matches like it was in the CWC and in a way to make them stand out. They've dulled it down so much with what they're trying to do in that they're not letting them go out there have these amazing matches. They're not going out. They're making them feel like the rest of the show, and that's not what it felt like the cruiserweights were supposed to be. They were supposed to be something different. They were supposed to be something that was set apart, and they're not set apart. That being said, people love Rich Swann. I don't have a problem with him beating Kendrick. I have a problem with the way Kendrick is presented afterwards, where it feels like not only did he lose, but now he feels so down on his luck that he has absolutely no hope in hell of winning at Hell in a Cell.
Yep. It just felt like one of those desperate men just trying out of desperation to get something, and he gets nothing. And it just makes him look like a even more sorry person than before he even said anything.
Mm-hmm.
You just think desperate men are violent. Desperate men do things that are out of the ordinary because they're desperate, and they don't go do this. That bugs the crap out of me. That took all the heat from me because now I can't believe a blubbering, crying guy is that mean of a person. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, if he was desperate, they should have had their last title match go to disqualification. Let the savage beating he puts on TJ every week build the feud, not whatever they're doing with this crap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot to say that Braun Strowman was the one that had the list at the end of the day here. And Braun Strowman's mad that Sami Zayn's name is not on the list. So Jericho adds Strowman to the list instead because he took the list. And we also have a match that doesn't go anywhere with Sami Zayn and Strowman because Strowman just gets mad after he throws Zayn into the barricade. He leaves because Sami Zayn is not a challenge for him, and Sami Zayn does challenge him to a match. This feels like pre-show all over it, but that's fine because I think this is kind of working for Braun Strowman as far as getting heat on him, and it's a perfect guy for somebody to actually want to see him wrestle and want to see the other guy beat Braun Strowman. There was also a promo with Rusev. Wait, the only thing I'm going to remember about this now is freaking Dave Meltzer on Twitter, who turned 55 today, by the way. He was like, what the fuck? Nobody taught Rusev how to cut either a babyface or a heel promo. I don't know what this is. It's just like, wow. But yeah, this kind of felt like we're once again, are we supposed to feel bad for Rusev? Like, why am I cheering for Roman Reigns? God, all this feud has ever done is make me question why the hell am I supposed to cheer for Roman Reigns?
Yeah, I mean, Roman Reigns is the freaking jerk in this whole thing. It's obvious to me. I'm surprised more people don't pick up on that.
Like Roman Reigns just needs to be a heel. He's a dick.
He is. It's solid. It's stupid. I don't think this is, Rusev's strongest work. I don't think it's even Reigns' strongest work. To me, this is not much of a build to their match. It's just them talking, which I get it. Yes, they do that in the ring too, but at least in the ring you can get some more interaction. These are just video packages. I don't know. I felt it just was flat. Didn't really care. In fact, I was kind of praying I could fast forward through these.
This entire feud has just been garbage. It hasn't helped anybody. They've completely switched on multiple occasions, I think, who the face and heel is supposed to be. I don't care about this at all. I really don't. There's no interest here. There's zero interest. Roman looks like an ass. Rusev is just guy. Get it off my screen. This is awful.
What's worse, this or the Bray Wyatt and Orton feud?
Oh, this by a mile.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, this is awful. Bray Wyatt and that situation is okay, but this is terrible.
Yes, and that terrible note ends us talking about Raw for this show. The only thing left is for us to give it a rating.
Being a go-home show, maybe I should give them more points, but really, honestly, there was so much negativity that I had coming through this, and maybe it was just from me not liking some of the situations that they were putting people in, and I won't rehash it. I am going to give it a 5. I really honestly felt like this was kind of a waste of my time. I kind of wish I would have read all the stuff I saw.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Read half the stuff I saw. I feel like there's nothing really to take out of this wrestling wise, other than if you really like the New Day and Cesaro and Sheamus match. Some of the talking segments worked, some of them didn't. I feel like you get a 5 here. Also, I totally skipped the Brock Lesnar segment because it was a total waste of time.
Stupid.
It was out of all the crowds in frickin' America, you're going to take him to his hometown and get him booed. That's not going to happen, people. Like, is WWE just that dumb? I mean, oh.
And I'll say this. I mean, Paul Heyman, had to say this. He says half the crowd was cheering for Goldberg. Not the case. But whatever.
There was like
I get
two
it.
people cheering for Goldberg.
Yeah, and they were trying. You could hear like those two people trying to get the Goldberg chant over, not really working too well. And then you got the situation where people are saying Goldberg sucks and all that stuff. It's just, and not only that. Think about this too. The way they just ended it. It was almost like out of nowhere, all of a sudden Brock's music plays and that's done.
As Larry says,
to me, it felt like Vince said, "Hey, we're failing."
Sorry.
Yeah, he does, but it end of that segment, didn't it feel, Sean, like they were just like Vince called and said, "Hey, just play their music, get him out of there. It's failing. What we wanted to happen is not happening. Cut it."
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised, honest.
It was so random. All of a sudden they were talking, and then all of a sudden Brock's music plays. So I don't know.
What? And then the whole Survivor Series may not go too well because Goldberg doesn't have the best history in Canada either. He is the one that ended Bret Hart's career and all that.
I'll be surprised if there's enough people in the audience that remember that.
Yeah, well, maybe Bret Hart will be outside.
Toronto are a pretty douchey crowd, so.
Yeah, I would love it if Bret Hart was walking around the stadium with a picket sign saying, "This guy ended my career."
That wouldn't be surprising at all.
Oh, man.
Can't wait till the video of that happens.
Yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully Steven Randall can help get the word out that maybe Goldberg's not such a bad guy.
Maybe not. I agree with Paul though. I think they might be a little more receptive to him than they were many years ago where he got booed out of the building. But you never know with Toronto. They're probably still crabby about the Blue Jays losing the way they did. So yeah, that's it for Raw for this show.
All right. Well, guys, we are excited about the rest of this week. We also have a SmackDown Live review for you, Tuesday night live. Of course, you can catch that on the download. Plus, go check out Part 1 and Part 2 of our regular Wrestling to the Max episodes. We'll have them both available for you this week. One will be on Tuesday morning, and of course the other on Friday morning for your downloading pleasure. And also, once again, W2M Network. Go find it. Go subscribe. W2Mnet.com. Go visit it. Go read. And, of course, we will appreciate everybody who's checked this out tonight. And we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Until then, if you're not living life to the max.
Not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace.
Later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.